Hey guys, good morning. It is Tuesday, and as you can see from the title of the video, we're going to be talking about interactive notebooks. I'm not sure if teachers are still using interactive notebooks, but your girl is. I started using interactive notebooks probably like 2011. In 2011, my whole math department, not the whole math department, the women probably in our math department, decided to get on board and try these interactive notebooks. I've kept a couple of my interactive notebooks, but I've taught PDs over the years, and so a lot of teachers, when they see them, they was like, "Ooh, can I have that? Can I have that?" And your girl don't know how to say no. So I've gotten rid of most of my notebooks. So the first one that I have is 2017, 2018. I could not find my 2018, 2019, but it's packed up somewhere. So the 2017, 2018 interactive notebook still kind of shows you what my notebooks look like prior to what they are and have developed into at this point. Now, different people have different things about what they think an interactive notebook is, and I guess it depends on how you're running your classroom. So for me, my interactive notebook is my direct instruction. It was also in the beginning a place for us to do our drills, so I would have those problems inside of the interactive notebook as well. But since then, I've taken the drill problems out because we use online systems now to grade stuff, and so we really don't need the work inside of our interactive notebook, and so it's strictly for modeling and direct instruction. So we're just going to take a quick flip through of some of the books. So my first interactive notebook was a composition book. 200 pages of Algebra 1, very few foldables and activities like that some teachers are very creative. My thing was highlighting notes and really having a place to reference when they go to do problems. And so that's what I use the interactive notebook for. And I like to use washi. I will let my students use it if they wanted to. So we just add some stickers, some washi, but basically it was our textbook. We did do some graphic organizers and different things inside of the planner, but basically it was like I said, direct instruction. Now, one of the things that I started doing in my book was, because I didn't do this in the beginning, was my book became the answer key book. So if you can see in the front of the book, there was really just the same pages as the kids. But when I got a little bit more advanced and, you get those bright ideas, my book became the answer key book. Okay, and so this was great. I love my composition book, girl. That you just couldn't tell me anything about it. It was just everything that you wanted it to be and more. But then I started Happy Planning, girl. Happy Planning took my interactive notebook to another level. Now the kids' book still stayed the same, but my book became, girl, Happy Life, Happy Planning. It became, this is my interactive notebook. Guys, y'all see the rings? Do you know what that did for me? It allowed for me, one, to move pages around. Girl, I loved it. It also allowed me to take the pages. So as I was at the board, I didn't have to have that bulky desk. That bulky book. I don't know what I'm on this morning, but I've been on 10 since I did the little check-in. But anyway, and as you can see, I'm still working with like the outline, right? And so this was the book that we had right before COVID. Let me see what year. This was 2019, 2020. And so this whole book was just nice, right? I really enjoyed making it. I loved the way it looked. I mean, it was nice and thick. I had strategies that I could put in the back. You could add to it and put notes in it just like you were Happy Planning. And so I would just put all the pages that the kids had inside of this planner. Then COVID hit, and how were we going to make an interactive notebook if they were home? And we didn't have hybrid. Our kids was home the entire year, right? Loved it. You don't know like I know that was a great time. So my boss, my principal, I always call him my boss. It don't bother me. Boss, principal, he tell me what to do. He had always had a desire to print our interactive notebooks because our department was just cohesive and everybody There go the light. So my boss, he wanted, or my principal wanted to print our books for years prior to this. So what he did was said, if y'all can get y'all book on one document, I'll send it to the printer, and then we'll have a time where the parents can come pick it up. Well, it just didn't give me a lot of time. So my first edition of my creation was this really thin strategy book. It was nothing but the strategies, like how to put it in Desmos. I'll do a little flip through at the end where you can look down at it, and I'll flip through the pages. But say like the strategies for the kids so they could reference it. And so it was barely 100 pages. I was working hard to try to get everything done. Now my other co-workers, they were on point. They had their whole book already done, but they probably had their pages already together, and I'm still thinking about what I wanted to do. So once they came off the printer, I didn't even send a cover. This is not my cover. My principal said I didn't have a cover, so he made it himself. But shout out to Mr. Gilstrap, because I'm just excited that he even did this for us. And he has been doing it every year since. So this was my first bound book, and every student got one. I was loving it. You see? Now, the next year, you know, I'm at home, I'm getting the journal ready. I'm determined to have an edition where it's like everybody else's, with my entire direct instruction. Everything I need is in this planner. So this was the first baby in 21, 22. And it has one of my favorite quotes on it. It says, if there is no struggle, there's no progress. And one of the things that I teach my students is that I'll take a wrong answer before I take a no answer. When you take a wrong answer, which means I can see your thought process, I can see what you were thinking, and I can fix wrong. I can't fix nothing. You cannot fix nothing. It has to be something on that paper. And again, I teach math, and maybe it's different for different subjects, but once you've given them the strategy, once you've given them what they need, you need to be able to look at what they interpreted, that what you said. So this book, printed last year, had a few typos, and some of the pages were still worksheets that I put together. So I'm in the process of changing over the book so that the entire book will be mine. Now, I have about half of the book done, right? And so we'll flip through the book at the end so that you can see what this book looks like. One of the things that my co-teacher and I did, we helped the students to tab their book, and my principal's still printing these off every year for us. I just did my, third edition. So the 2022-23 version, which I think is over there. Hold on, I'll be right back. Is the same cover, same everything. I just trying to fix the typos and convert everything over to the way I like it, and it can be fully mine. What that means, I develop all the problems, I develop everything that's in the book, and we're trying to have this out for sale this next school year. So I'm trying to get this completed so that I can put this on the market. And the cool thing about this interactive notebook, or this bound workbook as we call it, is that I have the PDF version and I open it up in GoodNotes. And when GoodNotes, I can project my tablet to my smartboard using Apple TV, and I'm able to show the kids how to work the problems from anywhere in the room. And so I am loving having access to all of my stuff. Like, the internet was out yesterday, but I still was able to teach. And so when you're able to continue working because your copies are made, the students already have their copy, it makes life so much easier. Now, some of the school districts may not be that lucky, but you know, it's just really a blessing. So yesterday we taught literals. They already had their workbook, so I could just give them the notes. I had to teach old school on the board, but it still was fun to go back to having no digital or no technology and just teaching like we used to. And I asked the kids, I said, do you know what we had before? We had computers, whiteboards, and some of the kids actually knew we had chalkboards. So if you're not that old and didn't realize that chalkboard used to keep us dirty, girl, we used to be so filthy with them was chalkboards. Chalk was everywhere, to the point where at my school we went and got these boards from the Home Depot. I guess they were backsplashes to bathrooms, and we put them up over top of of our chalkboard so we could have what we call a homemade whiteboard until we were able to get this beautiful school. And I have been at the same school since 2008. I love every minute of it. Now, before I close out, in addition to my interactive notebooks, my students do have a journal. We can't get rid of it. This is where I want to put drills or things I want them to work on if I get a foldable. But the good thing about this book, one, they don't need paper, right? So I just teach the lesson in the first book, but everything else we do is housed in this book. And you know what I call this? A diary of missed problems. So every problem you miss online, you're supposed to write in this book. And so I don't want any blank spaces, and I don't want any skips pages. So the first 20-some pages is like our opening day activities. So I really do like this book. So the first pages 4 and 5 is like rate yourself. So rate yourself means if you have mastery, you can I can teach it, I'm a leader. If you're proficient, I can explain it, I'm a helper. If you're competent, I need to practice independently. And I teach the kids that they need to know where they're at. Number 2, if I have questions, attend tutoring. And number 1, I need help in this tutoring. So the kids is rate your level of understanding is the first few pages. And then the next page is invisible math. And so they have about 2 or 3 pages of all the invisible math, and because I have to remind them of all the rules that they need to know and understanding what the invisible one means. The next is our first set of back to school cards that my boss, I think she gave us. And she, I think, purchased these online. But anyway, it's like a get to know you icebreaker type thing. And I usually put them in a Ziploc bag, and the kids pick out one every day for the first 4 days of school. And then the first day they share out. Like the one I did was all about me. 2 things I look forward to this school year. And I put SOL testing and a trip to the Falcon football game. And let me tell you, boo, my SOL testing scores was great for the first half, and I did make a trip to see the Atlanta Falcons play New Orleans in December. So that was really awesome. And then the next one was like a group activity that they learned. We're trying to get them to work together. And then with the first section, because our books wasn't ready, they started translation. Now after that, I think we skipped to page 36. I told them to leave the rest of them for me. And then they would start writing in the book, and they would do no blank spaces. So whatever problems you miss, you write down the problem, write down what you did wrong, write down the example. Then you would draw a line. Everything is dated and underlined. And maybe I can get one of my students. I have a student that does a really good job, and I can just show you a flip through of that at the end of the book, at the end of the video as well, of how well the kids actually follow instructions. And so I want you to know that, interactive notebooks can be tweaked. They can be used for any subject, not just math, but there is 2 cons and 2 things that you need to think about when you are thinking about or using interactive notebooks. And one is how they tape those pages into that book. I do not like glue sticks because they don't know how to do just the 4 corners, right? You just need the paper to be flat. And so what I choose to do is use tape. And I'm real picky about the tape. And all I want my students to do is tape the 4 corners. See how flat this, look how this book looks. And look how my book looks from 2017. It's a little old, but my pages are flat, right? I don't like bubble pages. I don't like crooked pages, and I'm real strict on how they do it. And everybody has to put the pages on the same page. And so when you run out of room with a page, all you have to do is tape it on the side. So you make like a little flap. So again, Taping is important. You need to get your strategy down. You need to decide how you're going to tape in, and then have a routine that you teach your students when you are planning out your interactive notebook. And then the other one is copies. Oh my goodness. To make all of those copies and make sure that they are, done on time, the best thing to do is by unit. So I found that out. Daily copying is out the window. Make sure that you are copying for your entire unit, and then just take 15-20 minutes to get the kids to tape them into their book, and just spend that time, because then the rest of the next 3 or 4 days of your unit, you won't have to worry about it. I hope these tips help. I hope you enjoy watching my flip through of my books. And if you have any comments, please leave them down in the comment section. I would love to see how you're using interactive notebooks in your classroom. And I'll see you all in the next one. Thanks for joining in.